Hello, everybody. Valentin Todorow from Elire here. Today, we're going to look at AI for Oracle PeopleSoft within the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. I am an associate partner with Elire. I've been with Elire for 10 years of our 20-year experience within the Oracle ecosystem, both on the PeopleSoft, Fusion, and OCI side. We are a trusted advisor to a lot of our clients. We try to be there throughout their journey through maintaining and optimizing PeopleSoft to its max capability. And clients that would and looking to move to cloud infrastructure and possibly cloud fusion applications as well. We try to guide those clients through that journey throughout the 20 years of our existence. So today, we're going to look at AI for outcomes. And to do that, we really need to understand the tech stack of the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and everything it has to offer that helps AI function, agents properly operate for whatever system you're using, be it a Fusion or a PeopleSoft system. We're going to go and level set agents. There's a lot of terminology that gets thrown around. I'm going to kind of try to level set and help you to understand how agents work even better, give you some use cases as well, some HCM specific use cases, and then give you our perspective and tooling that we see fit and that is fantastic, which is coming from the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure toolkit itself. So lots of terminology exists within that specific hyperscaler, but it all starts with the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, okay? And that is a collection of databases, applications, Cloud on Customer being a very popular one as well, which allows you to continue on-premise PeopleSoft solutions, but giving you tooling to enable small language or large language model orchestration, summarization, whatever you use agents for in whatever capacity. But the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, if you are using the SaaS and PaaS models, it has a collection of services, and one of the core ones, as of recently with AI becoming so huge, is the Gen AI service. So this is the ability for Oracle to run your models, any OpenAI model that is open source, like the 120B model, the OSS 120B, which is equivalent to like a 4.0 large language model capability. The ability to have agents. There are some great agents, very robust frameworks that allow you to store things in buckets and bins within object storage and be able to call RAG or database RAG with the 26 AI database. We also choose the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and integrations service within that. There is the terminology and the acronyms are very close. It's OCI for Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and OIC for Oracle Integrations Cloud Service, okay? And this has been around for many years. It's in its third generation as of now, and it has some really good integrating capabilities with a low-code GUI interface, but it does have full stack capabilities, and it is also our orchestration agent. It's been brought in to have connectors and APIs and agents, JDBC connections to be able to run Onyx models through the 26 AI runtime. So there's a lot of interconnections, and OIC is the heart of that. Okay. The 26 AI database is huge. This has, of course, been upgraded. It is a converged database now. So along with the relational tables, you have the capabilities for Apache Iceberg, document store for storing your JSON, for any kind of JSON duality searches you might be doing. But it's also a vectorization engine with the Onyx runtime, the Open Neural Network Exchange, which allows you to run embedding models. So as you ingest data into the database, you're able to run these embedding models, create vectorizations off that, and then, of course, be able to call searches against that data using that Onyx runtime to vectorize, find the cosine and what the nearest approximation results are, and return them to the user or to the agent. So the database and the memory is very critical, and the autonomous database is perfectly positioned for that. The hyperscaler, of course, this thing is able to be fault tolerant. So you can, if you're a small company, of course, regional failover might be good. But if you're a larger and larger organization, they might work across the country or across the world. You have to kind of figure out the governance, the separation of your databases, the syncing of your databases across those regions, be them failover regions or just disconnected regions for various purposes. And of course, the PeopleSoft architecture itself does live in OCI as well. Now it's, of course, containerizable as well. But those capabilities now exist. You can have PeopleSoft running with 26 autonomous database behind the scenes. And of course, you have all the capabilities of the update manager itself. And of course, I talked about the Cloud at Customer, the ability to still have all of these features in the stack and still run it through an on-premise model from Oracle. Okay. And then we kind of focus in a little bit on the Fusion and PeopleSoft applications just to kind of understand the current landscape. Fusion applications have a very robust AI Agent Studio module. I'm going to call it an entire module, a collection of pages within that module that really help you to either pull the delivered agents, which there's over 400 that Oracle has delivered and about 200 from the partner network. They're ready to go. You can just deploy them. They're within the included tier, so you're able to start leveraging them on day one. We do recommend you do go through the proper testing. There is a very comprehensive testing and monitoring framework because you will be utilizing tokens, right? So you want to kind of do a couple of tests, make sure that you're not ranking up thousands and thousands and millions of tokens per minute, which does, equate to cost. So you really need to understand your agents before you start deploying them. And that's some of the pieces that we help our clients with is let's figure out, even if it's a delivered one, how do you augment it enough where it still stays within the included tier, but giving you the capability to expand it, put some more guardrails in front of it, make sure that the output that this thing is going to talk to your users with is deterministic and it does align with your company's goals. And of course, the AI Agent Studio within Fusion does have a very robust data level security for business objects. So the API security that's inherent with the Fusion architecture is baked into that module itself, into the business objects themselves. So very, very well built framework for Fusion applications. On the PeopleSoft side of the house, we have had some AI specific and AI agent specific neighboring applications, edge applications, and capabilities that do exist there, but not as advanced as the AI Agent Studio for Fusion. Within Oracle, there's been, it's actually since I think 8.5.8, the data distribution framework has allowed you to send data. I think it's like flattened out data that you can, in conjunction with OpenSearch, be able to send to data sciences. And data science is one of those services that falls underneath the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, which allows you to run Jupyter Notebooks, be able to run training for your machine learning models. And then, of course, you can host those ML models on inference time and be able to call it from PeopleSoft to do any kind of forecasting using the data sciences in the inference mode. So that's existed there. And ML is underneath the AI umbrella. It's underneath the same term. So it's just used differently for forecasting versus generation GPT. Of course, the 26AI database, I think with Update Manager, you are able to upgrade everything to the autonomous database for your OCI PeopleSoft instances. So for those clients that do have PeopleSoft in the cloud, you have all of those vectorized capabilities already native within PeopleSoft, which is fantastic. So. And of course, OpenSearch and the ability to ingest data through Logstash is a huge piece of it. OpenSearch is critical to your global search for all of your analytics. It sits next to your PeopleSoft stack to provide it, that turbocharger capabilities for intelligence. So, and then across, if we kind of step back a little bit and focus out of the applications, OCI has a robust infrastructure where if you are building bespoke and custom applications for your organization, they do have things like Apex, which used to be Application Express, which sits within the 26AI database. It's the native application, extremely robust, be able to disconnect it as well and run it on the edge within Oracle Red devices. So a lot of capabilities, even outside, if you are trying to build agents outside of the PeopleSoft or Fusion stack, the tooling exists within OCI itself. Very quick, I want to level set on agents. So the basic architecture here is that when a user asks a question, okay, what is my vacation balance, right? They're just asking the system. The system is then supposed to return, oh, you don't have any days left. You've already used them up. It's December 20th. What's going to happen within an agent, and this is where things have changed from the inception of ChatGPT back in, I think it was November 22, which seems like 20 years ago in AI terms. You were only talking with an inference model with an OpenAI GPT-2 or GPT-3 at the time, and it was returning text back. There was no agents in front of it. Okay, this is just the abstraction layer on top of the LLM, these agents. Now, when you talk to ChatGPT, you are talking effectively to an agent, and that agent has an LLM that's doing the generation and orchestration. Okay, you're now talking to agents. Okay, and when this question comes in, the agent itself has agency and a prompt instruction that it's going to send when it first does its first shot to the LLM. Hey, I'm an agent. This is my scope of work. I'm here to answer any kind of benefits questions from a user. That is what I do. It's literally written there in markup, plain text. It's just an instruction. And those instructions, coupled with tools, are first sent to that LLM. So you first have that first communication. I am this user. These are my instructions. What do I do next? The LLM then takes that, and based on its transformer network and its softmax, it's able to give you the next sequence of steps to do. Okay, now that I know what tools you have, what I want you to do is go call this API. This API goes against the vacation balance table. It creates a where condition in the after the question mark in the query section, and should return this user's information. So the agent itself then calls the tool, returns that information, does another call to the LLM. This is the information. How do I summarize the final response to the user? And then the LLM grabs the 0 days, what the original intent is, because it's all within its context window, and returns, you have 0 days left, right? That's how an agent works. So for more complex tasks, so if the user now says, go please create an expense report, mirror the one from 2 years ago, and just upload this file of images toward their corresponding days. That is a far more complex task. And then what the agent does, because it's in its toolkit, is it's going to start planning sub-agents. It's going to task decouple so that it can work on separate tasks independently, and it's going to cycle through. It's going to use memory to store things in its buffer, kind of like a swap space. It might look at long-term memory and do, retrieve previous conversations that were similar to see how things went and where. So there's a whole planning phase that happens with agents if you give a more complex answer. And then that agent will probably do some vector searches to find information or be able to read the receipt. It might do a web search because it couldn't find specific expense policy or the database API, whatever it needs to do. It's going to do gets to get information to return the right answer and perform the action too. So if the user also says, then go and fill it all out for me in the page, but don't submit, right? Just fill it out, save it. Then the agent will actually do actions. That's why we have the actions at the bottom against those APIs. So it's literally going to start, probably do the first API call, create, expense report. This is the name, this is the date range, this is the project, and it calls that one. Once that's confirmed, it then starts calling the API for the lines to query, insert, and then once that's all done, the agent then takes the user to that page to review it, to submit it, right? There you go, that's kind of a use case as well. But this is the whole orchestration of it. It is how these agents work. They have just a script of what they do and what their tools are. The LLM is the one that's orchestrating and telling it how to move the pieces around, okay? And there's a lot more interactions that people realize. Agents can do a lot of these. The more complex the question is, the more calls happen with the tokens. So just a level set if anybody was unclear on how agents work versus LLM, large language models, or small language models. They also operate the same way. So if we scale this concept a little bit higher. And this is just a conceptual architecture of how agents work, similar to the previous one, but this one we've also layered guardrails. So it's imperative that you scan for every conceivable coming in through the message. Okay, we have evolved for layer of these services to a very high degree. We have TLS 1.3, we have all kinds of ciphers, and it's the channel is secure. Okay, but suddenly we've introduced another attack vector, being the user messages. You have prompt injections, prompt flux. You could have intrusions within the images themselves or documents, right? The images themselves, once the convolutional neural net stretches them out and the feature spaces and latent variables are extracted, there could be prompt instructions that are trying to attack the agent to supersede its own prompt instructions and try to scan the database for all information. So guardrails are absolutely critical, input and output too, to make sure that final scrubbing of the data to ensure that it does meet certain guidelines. There's no profanity. It's important to have these systems. They're entire systems now, because the complexity has escalated within the last 2 months. How many attack vectors exist. So testing this and having lots of test conversations and using adversarial networks to gauge how it did, because an AI can create, if you prompt a side AI to be adversarial and to test this one, it can create conversations that are extremely long and very complex and be able to test more and more scenarios out very, very quickly. But guardrails are very, very important. Within there, again, we have the generative service, so OCI Generative AI service running the LLM itself, and that is actually doing the reason and actioning. There's action routers, there's query rewriting if you are using RAG tools to find documents out of your 26 AI database. You might be doing that. You might have bucket storage for old documents that you want to process later on. So it's a mix of in a collection of tools that allow you to build these agents and orchestration systems. So moving on to use cases, and there's tons of use cases. This is kind of a slide of many across the various levels, but you can kind of see some are generative AI where you're summarizing feedback or articles or suggestions. So they're just generating, whereas others are more agentic. It's a time card assistant. That's complicated. There's so many variations of your time card. You could have documents that you also have to connect, policy documents, procedural documents, what project this applies to. And these use cases can help you see the landscape, but there's really nothing out of the limit now of what you can do. It's incredible. And then kind of shifting to the last topic, which is kind of our perspective of how PeopleSoft integrates with AI. How can it augment the PeopleSoft user experience? We really have to, again, we look at the OCI stack, all the tooling that it has to offer. And of course, at the heart of it is going to be OIC, the Oracle Integration Cloud Service. That is the agent that sits in between the large language models, and there's some options, and I'll talk about those, but that is the primary orchestrator if you're on-premise or if you're OCI, okay? And the beauty is, even if you're PeopleSoft, if you're on-premise and your PeopleSoft is not exposed to the internet, there are agents that can sit, and not AI agents, but an actual old terminology agent, kind of a service that sits on the PeopleSoft on-premise instance that makes a secure channel to OIC itself. So there's connectors and adapters built for that purpose already, which is great out of the box. Functionality, we layer that, of course, with the latest technologies to ensure that the communication channels are as secure with short-lived JWT tokens. Everything is using IDCS for to kind of mirror your PeopleSoft security across the board. And of course, leveraging the Gen AI LLM service from OCI itself. Now, we do also see that there are some on-premise PeopleSoft clients that do not have a cloud provider of any sort. Their PeopleSoft instances on-premise. There are open source solutions that we do offer that mirror some of these capabilities. You can run them all, including on-premise large language models or small language models that can be run within your servers, server rooms, and hardware centers. those capabilities exist, and you can't connect these applications together in that fashion. Okay. Within, if we kind of focus back on the PeopleSoft side of the house, there's a lot of about, as I mentioned, the applications have data level security already baked into the picture. That's something we've been developing to really ensure that everything aligns across the board. So if you're asking sensitive information that you're not privy to, there's a block that blocks you or the LLM from generating that response. It actually blocks it even before it reaches this boundary. And we keep all the data does get kept for the most part within the PeopleSoft database. It is not shared with the LLM. So there's a boundary and masking layer that happens to ensure that queries are not actually run outside, and no data even escapes the system. So there's a very hard firewall that we've created between PeopleSoft and any orchestration network to ensure that your PII stays. It's screened. Intellectual property as well can be parsed and dissected. So if you are, you feed a very sensitive document into your PeopleSoft application, the system itself will break it down into smaller chunks and send it to different LLMs so that no one has the full picture, right? So you're decoupling it if there is some intellectual property. Guardrails, incredibly important. Testing those and having those, the attack vector is growing, and this system has to grow with it. It's not a one-time install. It's continuously evolving. It's almost like antivirus software scanning, right? This is incredibly important to do. And then, of course, guardrails for the scope of work, right? Don't just create the expense report and submit it without me reviewing it. So there has to be a line in the sand where you still have to probably review that expense report. Make sure your lines are all right, that the receipt for the airplane isn't on the hotel or vice versa, because maybe that matters for the client that you might be billing this to, and they adhere to the lines lining up with the receipt. So things like that matter. And of course, this is actually a quick image of OIC. So this is not no code. There definitely is capability for code, and I would definitely encourage you to build good, strong integrations that do leverage code. But this is kind of the GUI look of it that allows you to see the flow, how the data is scrubbed, pre-processed, how APIs are called, and then, of course, the output guardrails to ensure that it does adhere to that exact format that we expect a response for the end user, right? Because it could be anybody. We got to post-screen it after the LLM is done. So, of course, we do have our own systems. We have the Elire AI engine. This is a workspace. It actually collapses and expands into various views, but gives you that same capabilities, all of those guardrail security layers, the integrations themselves, the agents within OIC that help you to orchestrate the whole piece of the puzzle, every piece of the puzzle. We have that as Elire AI engine. So, okay, with that, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this video was useful for you, and we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.